In this video, we're going to cover some of the things in the booking screen that were not covered in detail prior. For example, when you see an open lock in a screen, that means that it can have added records and there would be an add button in that screen. There's also a main menu button that will take you to the main screen menu. If you are accessing your data and entering and editing on the server, you would use the submit and cancel buttons at the end of your edits to save the changes. If you're using an iDevice of any kind or iPad using FM Go, you do not have to use the submit and cancel buttons. They're automatically saving the field data that you see here. So if you made edits like I just did, you would come on the server, you would click the submit button to save those changes. On this screen, you'll see that there's a booking listing for the bookings themselves. Let's cover that. The booking listings is basically a listing of each individual record for each customer that you have in the app. It lists them by ID number, booking number, and then name. It shows their telephone number, their arrival date as far as when they're going to be coming in on the next reservation, and the time. If you go to that record, you can click on any one of the record icons at the end of the row and it will automatically bring them in. Now on this and all list view records, when you're looking for somebody and there's a lot of records, go into the find mode, in this case clicking on the find mode button, then adding the name. In this case, I'm just going to use the first part of it. I'm going to say BEN for the Ben Franklin record. Doesn't have to be capped or anything. Then say perform the find, and you'll see that it comes right up. If you want to return all the records to the screen, you would go ahead and show all records, which is this button, and it would return all of the records. This is a basic thing to understand about how list view records work. If you edit or make changes here, you would need to submit them so that the server will update that. Let's go back into the record we were working in. Let's go to the booking by date. The booking by date is actually also a list view, but what it does is it organizes the information by a date, and it goes to the date you want to go ahead and you can use find mode again and look at a specific date or a date range, or you can pick anything else that's in these fields that are in gray. Like for example, if you want to look at a status by certain statuses like a booked room or a reservation, you can use the find mode and then use the booking status to add whatever status you want to search for. These are both, we just covered the booking report by date and the booking list view. Let's go back to the booking screen. In the booking screen, you'll notice that there is a days stay, and this is actually where you put the number of days that this particular reservation is going to be for. Let's go back to this screen here where you see there is a 2 in there for a 2-day stay. This will change as the reservation changes. For example, if I'm coming up for a vacation date and I'm going to arrive on 5/15 and leave on the 16th, and this is the next vacation date that I'm coming out in, and I'm pending a reservation, then when you come up to this part of the screen, you would put the next one is going to be a 1-day or 1-night stay. Then you would change the booking status on either of these screens, and in this case it would be a deposit made, deposit required, a reservation approved, or a reservation request, or a booked room. Like in this particular case, it's showing in the booked room. If you had just left the calendar and come to this screen, you could click on the appointment button here and it would take you back to the last booked appointment, whatever which one was open. If you came here from, say, My Record, Vaughn Clement, you could click this and return directly to it again. Now let's look at the room assignment report. This is a little different than what we were looking at with the room assignment listings. The room assignment report is more detail, where it gives information about which room, if they're departed, if it's in this case, that's the name, it's just a fictitious name I made up. But if you take a look through there, you can also use the find mode in this thing to go ahead and pick an individual, go into find mode, pick a name, or a room status, or a room number, or a booking ID, or a date range, or arrival time, depart time, days stayed, anything like that you want to pick, you can. Even if you're looking for something as simple as the number of guests or number of children that were in this booking, or even a telephone number or company name, in this report it would summarize it by putting those into view, which is called the current selection. Let's go back to the main screen. In the main menu, you'll note that we covered the booking listing, the booking by date, the room listing assignment, and the room report. There is also listings for the room portal listing, which shows each room by its identification information, a booking UDF screen that shows the UDF fields listed by ID for each person and name. Then there's a billing listing and a billing report, a billing item listing, which is the items that you're selling within the billing. It could be a room, it could be commodities, or even a trip or tickets to an event in the local area, depending on what you are providing to your customers. Then there's a billing report that's going to break down all the items and how they're billed and who they were billed to, which again, like we just showed you before, you can use the find to find an individual, a ID by name, or a date range in order to find those items in that particular billing report. There are two invoices, which we're going to cover in another video. There's a payment screen that we showed you as far as the payment. Then there's a payment listing, which shows all the items that have been listed that have been paid for, and also the payment report that shows all items and how they were paid. We will be covering expense listing and report separately, and the employee and the employee schedule listing separately. That concludes this part of this video.